I get heavy. You know, I'm going to talk about life and death.
You're going to talk about life and death?
What else is there to talk about?
I mean, that is what we're doing. We're living, and some people are dying. That's life and death.
We're all. What's really interesting is that we're all going to die.
Yes.
And that everybody pushes away.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's normal to push away, you know, thoughts of your death. But the real enlightened, like the Buddhists, I'm into Buddhism, Eastern stuff. They say the way to get enlightened is to die, if you can check this out, is to die before you die, meaning completely kind of go into the fear. And they claim that the fear is releasing ego, which what they mean by ego is like you have this beautiful studio and you have a career and a wife and kids, I guess, and and it's like you can't be attached to it. You have to die to that. Like, in other words, you don't own your wife. You don't own anything really, because the bottom line of it is we are temporary.
Yes.
And impermanent. And it doesn't mean you can't enjoy, you know, like you're in the prime of your life, right? So why think about your fucking death? You know what I mean? But I think for guys like me, I'm a little older, and like for some reason, we're on, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, I experienced panic attacks, and I had a full-blown one coming up here.
While you're driving?
While I was driving.
Now, what does it feel like?
Okay, this is what it feels like. I'm feeling kind of tired. I've been doing a lot, and that's not to brag. I've been.
You're in show business.
What?
You're in show business.
I'm in show business.
You're doing a lot of work.
I'm in show business. I'm married. I have 2 dogs. I have 3 cats. It's like
to manage.
The dogs are intense, you know, because you laugh. I love your dog.
I have dogs too. I have 3.
You have 3?
Yeah.
Okay, but for me, and this is, I think, one of the you know, why I'm a panic attack sufferer occasionally, is that I get into these dogs. Like I think a sign of someone who has panic attacks is someone who cares too much about taking care of things instead of trusting that everything's going to be all right. Like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to feed the dogs will be okay. I'm always like doing stuff like, hey, my dog's name is Charlotte and Basil. Charlotte, does she have something in her eye? Does Charlotte have something in her eye? And I kind of blow it up a little. You know what I mean? Instead of chilling and going, oh, she'll be okay. Let me just, you know, wipe the eye. I'll see her like scratching at the eye a little, and it can set me off into this worry. And I think that's kind of the symptom of panic attacks. Like, I'm coming up here, so I get on the 101. People who don't know the 101, well, you should just kill yourself, because the 101 is a main artery, and you should know about it.
What if they don't drive? Other things to worry about.
I think they're brilliant if they don't drive. But anyway, it was packed. You know, the Google Maps was like accidents up ahead. And I started to feel this kind of feeling trapped. Have you ever felt trapped?
Yes.
On the highway where, and for some reason, I think because I'm overtired and I wanted to get here, this is the first time I've done your podcast, I just started feeling an anxiety about, fuck, I'm going to be. And this is what happened. I'm doing it physically.
You start feeling, I'm going to be late. The walls start closing in.
Yes, man.
Right. Can't
but
breathe.
Then yes.
You need
and
relief.
That's the real scary thing, is the breath.
Right.
Like, oh man, ooh, it's like I'm doing this in the car. And by the way, the one thing I hate about LA, I don't know about you, but like, here we are in December 28th, and it's hot.
Yeah. It's pretty warm. It's like 75 degrees out,
It's
right?
like 80.
Is it 80 today?
It's 80. And the sun is blaring in through my side window, and I'm feeling a little, fuck, there's nowhere I can't get off. I can't, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's a buildup of anxiety instead of just going, you know what?
Like your shirt, let that shit go.
Let that shit go. I couldn't let it go. Like when I get entangled in it, when it reaches a tipping point.
Right.
You know, when the anxiety reaches a tipping point where, you know, I am like, oh God, like here's the voice in my head that I have to always battle. It's like, oh God, this isn't going to work out. Instead of, hey, you know, for some reason I have the, oh God.
Okay, but you intellectualize it, right? Like now, like we're talking about it now.
I'm trying to
but now
analyze it.
But now, it's after it's over, you realize like, I should just say, hey, let that shit go. Like you, without any stake in the game, right? You removed, if you were giving yourself advice in that car, you'd be like, come on. Everything's great. You're living in America here. There's a few extra people on the road. Some of them bumped into each other. Let's just get through this. You know, you text me. It's no problem. Come a little later. It's no big deal. We'll start a little later. It's casual. There's no reason to get anxious about that.
Right.
You don't smoke pot. See, if you did, I would understand more. Because people that eat edibles and then get on the 101 and get stuck in traffic and then...
What happens?
Yes, your whole world starts closing in on you. You start thinking about your own demise.
Well, now I have that without the edibles.
Yeah. It's the same kind of thing. It's, I think, one of the things that I've noticed a lot is a lot of people that have anxiety and a lot of people that they're intelligent people. And the problem is with intelligent people is that you're overwhelmed with possibilities. You're thinking about all the actual variables that are in play. Whereas dumb people just fucking stumble into walls where they're talking on their phone and, you know, they're like texting and walking out into traffic. They're not thinking, you know.
And somehow they get things work out for them.
It doesn't. It's an illusion. You're not living in their skin. If you were inside their 9-volt battery brain, you'd be like, oh, God, this is fucking nothing to think about here. Like, Jamie, were you with me or was it with Tony when we were at the airport and there was this girl I sat next to her just to listen to her conversation? I think it was Tony. And she was just talking about Amazing Race, and I wanted this team to win, and I can't wait until this happens. And when I get paid on Friday, I'm going to buy this phone, and then there's this food I really want to eat. And it was just this droning. I'm like, you might as well be a meat robot that's just sent here to consume. There's no like, there was no curiosity or creativity. It was just consumption. It was just food and buy this and watch that and drone on and on and on. And who knows if it's genetics, if it's nature, if it's nurture, whatever it is. There's a lot of really dull folks out there, and we're not supposed to.
There's a lot of really dull folks, but the culture is also geared to consumption. I mean,
a lot of it is, sure.
Isn't it? It's like you turn on the fucking TV and that is the message sent to you.
Is that our culture?
That is our culture.
It's a part of our culture, but our culture is pretty vast now. I would say that much more of our culture is the internet, much more than mainstream media now, and that's one of the reasons why they're grasping at straws, trying to stay relevant.
What, the mainstream media?
Yeah, I don't like television shows. They're down record numbers. Like news is down record numbers.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea that it's great if someone is like, you know, New York Times, Time Magazine, respected journalism, someone who that you can go to when you really want to know what the fuck is happening in Syria. I need to know. I need to know from someone who's going to give me an objective, informed opinion. That's huge, and it's very critical. But once you get past that, you're dealing. A lot of the shows you're dealing with it, whether it's CNN or any of the Fox News, you're dealing with opinions, and your opinion is just as valid as Shepard Smith's. Like, why is Shepard Smith? Because he has makeup on and he's wearing a tie, and they have ready, set, go, and they press the green light. And
what you're talking about is really interesting. How because it's just on TV, because it's sanctioned.
Yes, sanctioned is the right word.
Sanctioned by the powers that be. Like it's really about ownership.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know who owns CNN anymore.
It used to be Ted Turner. Yeah, he probably still owns it. He's hashtag balling. He is, right?
I think so. I mean,
he's like one of the biggest landowners in the United States.
Yeah.
I think he has millions of acres.
Yes.
He owns buffalo.
Yes.
He's got restaurants where he serves buffalo.
Unbelievable.
Hashtag ballin'.
Is that Montana?
I think it's called Montana. Yeah.
It's in Montana, right?
They have them in Colorado. They might have them in Montana as well. I think it's actually a chain. I don't know where they are, but it's supposed to be very good restaurants.
But what my point was is that the structure at CNN says, well, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that, we're going to talk about that, we're going to put it on TV, and people watch the you have to break it down to the essentials. Like, there is a screen, it's being transmitted into your home. It's very much with people not realizing it, a complete fucking mind control thing. Like, or it really influences you, and it takes a lot to kind of disconnect. And for instance, I have said to myself, I am going to disconnect from fucking the grid for a while. You ever try to do that? Like, I'm not going to go online. I'm not going to watch TV. Like, you know what I mean? But it's really kind of very difficult.
Unless
like
you go somewhere.
What?
I go hunting. That's what I do. I go to the woods for like a week, and I have no choice. Can't get cell phone signal. There's no internet connection.
Do you feel rejuvenated?
Well, yeah.
Really?
It feels good. It feels good to take breaks. You know, I enjoy the internet. I enjoy the information, but it's overwhelming. And one of the reasons why it's overwhelming is we're not really accustomed to this experience. This is a very new experience for human beings. Like, over the last, 20 years, we've had these options. Yeah, to a little bit more. 24, I think, 94-ish. It really came. 94 is when I got online.
Don't you think? And I really want to relate this again to like kind of the panic attack I had coming up here. Because this is it's another form of the anxiety, is that it's information overload.
Overload, 100%. Yeah.
Fuck, because my brain. I think your brain is the same way. It's like my brain, I feel my brain just digging into shit. Like, like I'll read a paragraph on, I don't fucking know, hunting. And then, it'll mention something about guns. And then I go to guns. And then I go to gun control. Like, I go, and then I go to the scumbags who don't want gun control. And then I go to a school shooting. Like one thing leads to another on the internet.
Rabbit holes.
Yeah,
you go down that rabbit hole.
I want to do more of this on stage, but like talking to an audience about, hey, I've only done it once and it went over okay, but it was like, hey, you ever go on Facebook and you just start reading a feed. You just start reading your feed, and you just get drawn into like people's random thoughts. You start connecting into their brains, and you're like, oh, I get that. And then where you go wrong is there's 262 comments.
Ooh, and you read the comments, then you go to their feeds.
You read. No, but after you're fucking, let's say, 30 comments in, something happens to your fucking center. Like, your brain just kind of is free-forming it about, I forget what I was reading. Oh, I was reading. This was some thread somebody started. This guy said comedy improv is bullshit. It's half-assed. It's amateurish. It's like they're presenting a product that hasn't been chiseled and worked out. Whereas stand-up, he was a proponent of stand-up, and he said stand-up, it's chiseled, and what people want is a finished product. And I disagreed. I mean, I love.
They're different things.
Different things.
It's like some people enjoy jazz.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I love.
Yeah, some people enjoy symphonies. Some people like to go to see an orchestra. They want to see everything that's been perfectly tuned and just gotten to this point of perfection where they've rehearsed.
And that's great, right?
It's great too. It's all look.
It's great to watch someone's finished set.
Yeah.
I loved watching your thing about how America is now a whore and we're driving with Trump. Like you did that thing with
get my bit up, but yeah.
Don't do it. Okay.
Don't do my bit in a fucked up way. But yeah, it's
No, but here's the thing is that you get sucked in because the way the guy on the internet, and this is what happens on the internet a lot, the way the guy who said improv sucks, that's how he framed it. This sucks. This is good.
Right.
And then it's a thing. Then your ego gets involved. Like I think I didn't engage in that one, which is really
But
good.
here's the thing. He's right to him. For him, he's right. It's just he phrased it wrong. If he said what I like is stand-up because I
Right.
like a polished product. I don't like improv because it feels amateurish to me. And people could say I disagree. I love improv because it's wild. I like that feeling of being in the audience where someone yells out, a genre, World War II films, and you know that they're scrambling and then they fucking try to pretend they're into the in the what's that called? The tunnels? What's I'm looking for?
Trenches. Oh, I love trenches.
Trenches are good.
I build trenches, and I have mustard gas at home. It's Grey Poupon mustard gas. Grey Poupon mustard gas.
I think that there's nothing wrong with having opinions on things, but people don't like that your opinions are different than theirs, and they get mad at you. Like some people get mad at you if you like a certain kind of music.
That's insane.
It's crazy, but they'll get mad. Like your taste sucks. Your taste in music sucks.
But here's the thing: what we're talking about is that's what's going on a lot on the internet.
Yeah.
You suck. You suck.
You suck.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Definitely wrong.
And I think it's really reached a fucking heightened state because of the politics in the country. Like in other words, it filters down to
the
improv
president
and
does
stand up.
Well, the president insults people constantly.
That's all he does.
Yeah.
That's all. He's a divisive.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not new, but that's how he operates, right?
But he's very manipulative in the fact that
Absolutely.
he's very praising of some people.
Yes.
You know, like doing an amazing job, beautiful job. Like the other day, he was talking about these firefighters, and he had all these firefighters behind him, and he was talking about what a great job they're doing as firefighters, and it's just like this weird speech, and now you're gonna go see each other on TV, and like I don't think they get enough credit, and so he'll like bestow. It's a very interesting method.
Of course, he's going to bestow praise on the firefighters.
Okay, you would say that, right? But only if it's convenient for him. Like about John McCain, who's a fucking war hero. He was like, I like people who don't get captured. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, he had like 6 deferments. Like, I had a hangnail. Like, can't go to war.
Oh.
Like, he had a gang of deferments. And meanwhile, he's saying something about John fucking McCain, who's a legitimate war hero who was captured and tortured by the Viet Cong. And he had the balls to say, I like people that have been... I mean, that's not respecting the military at all.
No, but here's a question. How does he get away with that shit?
Just does. Because that's just who he is. It's like, if you know someone's a scumbag, then the scumbag behavior is like, well, that's fucking...
That's him.
That's Mike. That's what he does, right? But if Mike is a priest, and it turns out what Mike really likes doing is smoking crack and blowing guys... you find out, you're like, oh, Jesus, Mike, I thought you were this other thing. But if Mike is Andy Dick, and you found out, oh, Andy Dick's out there smoking crack and blowing guys, like, oh, Andy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Trump is Andy Dick.
He's Trump. He's Trump. He's who he is. That's his thing is you come after him, he comes after you. And we just sort of assumed that once he became president, he would stop doing that and he would act #presidential. He's not at all.
No, he can't help himself making it all about himself. And it's interesting, back to the internet shit and what is going on. Just, for instance, taking that example of improv sucks, stand-up is the best, right? It is the guy who wrote Improv Sucks, the guy, the guy who started the thread. It's like what they're doing and what Trump is doing. It's like, this shit is all about what I think, and I know you're going to come at me, but that's what I want. I want, the attention. I mean, I really think it comes down to I want to fight. I want to fight. I want an ego fight. I want to fight, and I want the attention.
There's certainly a little bit of that, but I also think he wants repercussions for challenging him. He wants people to feel...
He wants to punish him?
Yeah, he wants people to feel very uncomfortable if they challenge him. I think that's a big part of his game. And he wants everyone to know that he's going to come after you. Like, as the president, he's going to come after you. And if he does, all the Trumpkins are going to come after you, too. Because if he comes after you, then all these puppets, these people that follow him, that literally are on there all day long. Like, you really have to realize that some of the people that are online that are tweeting for Trump or tweeting about certain things, whether
Are
it's
on there all day long. By the way, I don't know.
I follow people just to see how crazy they are, just to get it in my head. Like, oh, okay, I see what you do. You do this all day. You start tweeting at 7:30 in the morning with your first cup of coffee. You're hurling insults, and you do it till 1 o'clock in the morning, and then you start all over again in the morning.
How do they do that? Because I go insane. I find, I don't know about you, but if I spend an hour on that kind of rabbit hole with Twitter or Facebook, my limit, I think, is about an hour before it just something says to me, I need to get out, I need to walk, I need to do something, I need to get away.
You know what I think is happening? And I've been thinking about this a lot over the last week. I think humanity is in the process of an overwhelming transformation. That's something like giving birth.
I agree.
And I think that, like, if you ever watch someone give birth, like, the crazy thing is how much pain the women are in. Like, when I watched my daughter come out of my wife, I was like, whoa, that's a lot of work. Like, it's fucking painful and it's crazy. And
you're talking about
blood
birth?
And, yeah, blood. And it's just, it's nuts.
I haven't been present at a birth.
It's like this. It's like, but then boom.
Did you film it?
The most unbelievable love comes out of it. Yes, I did. But the most unbelievable love comes out of it. And then it's like, oh my God, and the way you feel is incredible. And it's like, I think there's you got to go through hell to figure out how to handle this better. And I think culturally, we're going through a weird kind of hell. And this kind of hell, it's avoidable. Look, you could just put that phone down and you could just go hiking, go with a good friend, bring your dog, go have a nice day, sit up there, crack open a cold glass of water and look over at the landscape and go, man, it's fucking beautiful. And it does something to you when you look at beautiful things, right? You can do that. But you might want to just check your Twitter real quick, see if anybody responded to that real witty post that you left there. Oh, did I get any likes? Oh, fuck you, I didn't say that. That's not what I meant. And then you start, the wheels start turning.
Exactly. They did a study, I don't know if you heard about this one, that just turning off the phone, like if you have the phone in the room with you and you turn it off, you think, okay, the phone's turned off, I'm cool. What the scientists said, it was a study, I'm not sure where the study was, but they said, no, you have to put the fucking phone into another room. They said something about...
What if someone wants to call you? What if you get a text? What if someone sends you a picture?
Even when it's off.
But what if there's a cool Instagram post that you miss?
Absolutely.
That's what everybody's worried about. I think all the chaos that's going on in the world now, I really think that we're in this unbelievably tumultuous time in human history.
Absolutely.
Where we're not designed to have access to information 24/7 like we do.
It's all about information.
It's connection and information. Those two things are critical.
It's all about information, but I think even more like insidious is the way the information is given. Like here you got our president just being basically like a prick. The way he fucking disseminates this shit.
Yeah, but he takes pride in it, right? That's like part of who he is.
He's insane.
It's fine
He's a narcissist.
if you're a regular guy. See, if you're a regular guy and you're a media figure, like some, fucking, who's the guy from American Idol? What's that guy's name? That mean guy? Simon, that guy. Yeah, like he's a dick. Everybody knows he's a dick. Like that's his thing.
It's his brand.
Yeah.
Now.
That was Trump's brand. You're fired. That was his brand.
Yeah.
So it's reinforced with public acceptance.
True.
It was reinforced with attention. It was reinforced with, like, he knew that is what got him the credit that he so gravely desired. And so then that allowed him to run for president, right? He runs for president coming off of a reality show. They canceled his fucking reality show while he was running for president. Remember?
Did they? I thought Schwarzenegger took it over.
No, they canceled it. Because he was running for president. He was saying things about Mexicans. Then Schwarzenegger took it over. But they fired him, I should say, instead of canceled it. But they fired him. NBC fired him from the show because of the things that he was saying about Mexicans. And that's really where it all came from. So he was a fucking, literally an on-TV reality star on a shitty game show. And then from there goes on to be president. So that style of he's not going to like have this moment of reflection at 70 years old where he realizes this has all been a terrible, like, I have this amazing responsibility now. I'm in charge of the greatest nuclear.
You think he would?
Yeah. You think he would. But why would he? Because he's just a person. I think we have these narratives in our head that these people become like heroes, that a president is something different than a person.
Yeah. Well, I would just think, too, that yeah, I get who he is, but it's like, God damn it. Don't you get also influenced and formed by the weight of the job? Like,
yes,
you do have, and this is the scary part, you do have a nuclear arsenal at your disposal, and it is fucking dangerous because, you know, you're dealing with another fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
More crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they found each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of a love story.
Yeah, well, in a way, there's an argument, and this is the argument, that a guy like Trump is actually good in this situation because a guy who is too diplomatic and it would allow this guy to develop real long-range nuclear capabilities, that it would be extremely dangerous. And that with a guy who is harassing him and fucking with him like the way Trump does, and then you allow the military to do something to stop this guy from developing these long-range nuclear capabilities, that this would be better than having some very wishy-washy president who put severe restrictions on the military and didn't allow them to stop this guy. We would all like to think that the world is like we are here. You know, we are here in the United States, for the most part, pretty safe, not a bad place to be. You know, most neighborhoods, you know, even in bad neighborhoods, most of the time it's not that bad. So occasionally bad shit happens. Regularly bad shit happens, but not like it happens in the Congo. You know, not like it happens in Syria right now. Not like Aleppo. Not like all these other parts of the world that are in constant turmoil. Libya. Go to Libya right now. It's fucking chaos. It's a failed state. It's an ISIS hotbed, right? There's parts of the world that are just fucked. And if you're not the kind of person that is willing to do something to protect the rest of the people from getting involved in the kind of chaos that's in those parts of the world, that stuff can leak over. Bad people can come in to your neck of the woods and start treating where you live exactly how they treat Syria, exactly how they treat the Congo. It's totally possible.
Absolutely. But I'm a believer that if this bad stuff, and it is what you're talking about, what you mentioned, is horrific stuff. Like if you go in, I mean, Aleppo, if you've seen pictures of it, it literally is a wasteland now.
It has been a lot of parts
bombed out.
Yeah.
You know, and the suffering that those people have endured and the amount of refugees in the world has gone up and up and up. To me, I don't think you can isolate that. I really don't. I think that has to come back to roost in some ways, and it does. I mean, it's kind of random incidents of terrorism. In other words, what I'm saying is that we have to have more of a unified worldview, like seriously have a compassion for. I mean, I know this guy was kind of cliche,
we certainly do,
but for everybody, like oh no, fuck Syria, Libya, Iraq, you know, they're bad people. No, because if the world is kind of a small place, especially with technology these days, you know, and if there are thousands and thousands of refugees because of bombings, you know, people, they seek revenge. They grow up in hate. They grow up bad.
Of course, but what are you saying?
I'm saying that I'm saying that does affect us. Like you originally said, well, we live in a nice place where it is kind of basically okay. And I say that I don't know how long that can exist with all of the turmoil.
What I'm saying is, if you're living in the United States and you're living in a fairly peaceful place, you have to take into consideration that there are people out there like Kim Jong-un who do regularly kill their citizens, who regularly kills people who are insubordinate, who regularly kills anyone who thinks who would challenge him in any way. And then he has nuclear powers, and he is going to do something. And it's entirely possible that he could launch a missile. He's so fucking crazy, it's entirely possible that he could do it in some sort of a suicide mission. And then he could launch a nuclear strike on the United States in a suicide mission if he gets the capabilities. Some people, it really depends entirely on how that's managed. But there are people that would manage that incorrectly, and he could get to the point where he has those nuclear capabilities, and he could launch, and he could do something. That has to be taken into consideration. We've done it. We did it to Hiroshima. We did it to Nagasaki. We literally dropped indiscriminate bombs on entire cities. So
that's unbelievable, by the way.
It's crazy, and it just happened. Just happened 100 years ago, not even, right?
Isn't it interesting how most people don't have a sense of time and history?
80 fucking years is nothing.
That's nothing.
Nothing.
That's nothing. But the modern day person is like, you know what a long time is? 45 minutes ago on my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
Like, that's 45 minutes ago. That's
old
news.
Someone gives you an article, they send you an article, like, bro, it's from 2013.
Yes.
Like, whoa, that's 4 years ago is nothing?
I get caught up in that shit. Like I love, you know what I love watching documentaries is because it reminds me, holy fuck, yes, a lot of this same shit went down in 1960. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Like demonstrations, you know, Nixon was in power, we had Vietnam going on, you know what I mean?
I think there's always been a problem with people feeling like they're represented and communication. Those two problems have always existed. It just, they exist today in a different way. We almost have like too much communication.
Well, that's what I mean, too much information.
A little bit, yeah, for sure. And I think you're definitely right that we have to think of the whole world as being like one thing instead of like walling things off. But the problem is when you have
travel
someone,
all over, right?
Yes, but
do you get a little scared? I mean, I get
sometimes
like, fuck.
But you have someone who's a military dictator like Kim Jong-un. That's a totally different situation. Like he won't let the people live. He shoots them when they try to leave. Like this is a very, very bad thing to be seeing in 2017. That's entirely different than someone who's a Syrian refugee who, you know, those people are fleeing for their lives, and obviously they're in incredibly hostile environments and situations, but there are substantial parts of the world that welcome those people and want those people to have an opportunity to get away from what they're experiencing. You know, there's a lot of people in this country that argue for bringing them over here and helping those people. So I think our compassion is still there, but people don't want to be unsafe themselves. You know, I think I think we will eventually, these boundaries will become more and more preposterous. These lines in the ground that we've drawn, where we've decided like this is, you know, we are Canada and we are against you, America, and you're connected to us by the same dirt. Like we're tribes, and the tribes, we're tribe Earth, okay? You know, and I think once we realize that, we'll be a lot better off. But then we're going to have to really understand the allocation of resources.
Yes. Yes. Are you talking about also distribution of wealth, which is kind of another way to put allocation of resources?
Well, I'm talking about fixing places where there's no hope. You know, I mean, you could say that it's allocation of wealth. Like one of the things you think about, like when like Halliburton got these no bid deals to go into Iraq and build these things, and so, why can't someone get the same sort of contracts to go in and establish places like in the United States, like establish community centers in impoverished neighborhoods, do the same thing to Guadalajara, go into Tijuana and try to like set up.
And here's the answer. I think, I mean, this is my like not trip, but like my bent is like, there is just like what you're talking about, community building, you know, going into places, setting up education centers. It doesn't seem to be a priority when...
Well, it's not profitable.
Yes.
Right, but...
War is a huge profitable business.
But rebuilding is profitable. That's what I'm saying. So like, Halliburton is rebuilding, and that rebuilding is profitable.
And what do you need to rebuild? You need to fucking knock it down first, right? And
that's weird, right? 'Cause things are already knocked down, but rebuilding them is not profitable.
What do you mean?
Well, parts of the world are already fucked, but going in them and rebuilding, you know, going to impoverished parts of Ecuador and rebuilding that and try to, make it so that these people have opportunities to advance their lives and take care of their families. And there's no money in that.
Why isn't there money in that?
I don't know. What's weird that that everything is about where there's money, and that, like, look at how much
that's the problem.
Look at China, right? And look at how much their way of life has improved since capitalism sort of been installed. Like the amount of people that are in poverty in China, I was just reading this, like the staggering change since what's close to capitalism. I mean, it's capitalism, but they have a lot more restrictions on what they're allowed to do and not do. In China, they still can't research Tiananmen Square.
Research it?
Yeah,
what happened?
Yeah, you can't find out about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I feel like when you do that to people, if you say to people, look, you can't look into that, isn't there immediately like, I don't trust you? Like, it's immediate.
But it's a dictatorship, you know, and that's the crazy thing about Kim Jong-un. That's the crazy thing about China. Anytime you're in a situation where you have a dictatorship, you have a group or a person who's controlling the information that gets distributed to the people, and then the people are under the thumb of this person. And then when this person says something, that thing is the law. That is one of the scariest things about Trump, is that what essentially Trump is doing is treating his word as law.
Yeah.
And saying that everyone else is fake news and they're all liars, and everyone who opposes him, they cannot have a reasonable opposition of him. Any opposition must be chastised.
If he wasn't within our system, he'd be a fucking dictator. I mean, he is that personality.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's in this thing with the FBI. You know about this, right? Where they're investigating him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure where it's at. He's talking about firing fucking
Mueller. Yeah.
Mueller.
Is he talking about him still?
I'm not sure. That? I think he knows, and the people around him know that, dude, you cannot do that, because I think you're going to fuck with the wrong people there. Like, he still could fuck with the wrong people within this country.
Well, he's already fucked with the wrong people. He's fucked with the intelligence community. I mean, he's fucked with the CIA and the FBI, and they're all like, Jesus Christ, this guy. But here's the thing.
I think that's dangerous for him.
It is, certainly. But not as dangerous as it was in the 60s. It's harder to kill a president today. But the FBI just stopped a terrorist attack in San Francisco.
Did they?
Yes. You don't hear about it because the president hasn't talked about it, and the news has talked about it a little bit.
What happened?
There was a planned ISIS terror attack at one of the piers in San Francisco, and this guy who is a former soldier was planning it and reached out to ISIS and was trying to do it. And
former U.S. soldier?
Yes, U.S. soldier.
Look at that.
Yeah. Well, you get crazy on all sides.
But that's what I mean about, when there is bad conditions all over the world, it filters. And that's one way,
Yeah, but this is a guy who was an American citizen that wanted to attack random American civilians. This is a crazy person. This is a person who had blown a fuse and was just going to do this for ISIS and was doing it publicly on Facebook, was reaching out to these people. So he had a blown fuse, for sure. He didn't understand what he was doing, or understand that obviously people are going to be paying attention to these fucking ISIS pages.
Isn't it wild that people publicly put this shit out on Facebook?
It's wild, but it's not wild. I mean, there's a lot of dull minds out there. But anyway, the point is that the FBI thwarted this attack. The president hasn't said a goddamn word about it. He's praising these firefighters.
Yeah.
Doing an amazing job. But he's not saying anything about the FBI.
I wonder if it's because he wants everybody to think, hey, look, there's no terrorist activity going on in our
No, he doesn't want to
country.
praise the FBI.
Well, that's fucked up.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think he's against the
because
FBI.
He's getting investigated.
Yeah, because he has a vendetta against the FBI. He's at war with the FBI. It's crazy. This is a crazy situation where someone of this mindset is running the country, and some people love it. They love it. MAGA. We're gonna get things done. Look at the joblessness rate is down. Unemployment is down. There's all this good stuff is happening. The stock market is hitting record highs.
What's hilarious about when they talk about the stock market hitting record highs, first of all, I think it's a fact that 50% of America is in poverty. 50. You agree with that stat?
I don't know. Is that real?
Yeah. I mean, you could look it up. But
what's poverty?
It's a certain level of income, and I forget.
Well, I know what it means. I mean, what is the number? Is it like
I'm not
20,000?
sure. Yeah,
year?
it's
Something
around
like 30,000 a year.
It's around there, and I think
we'll find out.
I think it also talks about benefits, and there was just an article, man, in the Washington Post, dude, about how people in their 70s are having to take full-time jobs because their pensions have been taken away. I mean, corporate America is taking away a lot of shit.
Well, Jamie was just talking about this yesterday about how like companies are selling you the same product, but now it has like a half an ounce less than it used to before, and the boxes are slightly smaller. And
I just bought 2 boxes of cereal yesterday, and they both say they're 12 ounces. One's 12 ounces and one's 12.1 ounces, but the boxes are not even close to the same size. Same cereal, too. Rice Chex, so it's the same shape cereal and everything.
do you
One's
think
older.
that they're lying, or do you think that they figured out a way to get 12 ounces in a smaller box? Because you know how you would open up cereal, and then there would be like a little air space, and then you'd get to the package, and then there'd be a little air in the package.
Cereal might be a bad example, but Gatorade, for example, was it's 28 ounces now. It used to be 32 ounces like 3 years ago.
Well, that's a
Right.
perfect example of like taking.
Just a
No,
little
no,
bit.
you pay more and get less.
Yeah. Well, they just
It's just a fact.
infinite growth, that paradigm that corporations operate under, where you constantly have to improve every quarter. You have to make more money. You have an obligation to your
It's
stock.
insane.
It's crazy. It's like, how come you can't make? Listen, if you make $100 million in your corporation this year, why can't you make $100 million next year and everybody's happy? Like,
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the textbook definition of greed?
see, this 3 different size cups appear to hold the same amount of soda.
There might be a sponge in the bottom of one of them. You can't really tell, but like I said, this guy did this 4 or 5 times to sort of prove that there wasn't. This is a small, medium, and like super large size cup, and they all hold very
What?
close to the same amount of liquid.
Huh.
Super strange. This is what I was explaining to you yesterday. That brought it up.
Wow. Huh. See, that's the Daily Mail's super sketchy.
Well,
though.
that's just where they
Is that
posted
in
it.
England?
Yeah, the Daily
yeah, they
Mail is
suck.
like they're super sketchy with
Yeah,
stuff. They're super sketchy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a problem that we have with the system that's in place in terms of like how corporations get treated
dude.
as individuals, right? They're allowed to donate enormous sums of money now, and this is a fairly recent, within the last decade, the way that their structure has changed. And then there's also the diffusion of responsibility inside the corporation. If you work for a big evil corporation, but you're a good guy, you're Eddie Pepitone, you're a good guy, you wave to your neighbor, you give money to charity, but meanwhile you're making toxic sludge that's killing people in the Philippines or wherever the fuck it is.
Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, it is how it goes. And that's how it goes also to justify this infinite growth idea. This corporation keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing. That's why Trump is like they're opening up these national monuments for drilling.
Well, that's really fucked up. And you're an outdoors guy.
Yeah, scary shit. It's really scary shit.
But not only is it scary, it's an affront. It's like no, don't take away our fucking land, because to me, I get talking about circling back to the panic. I feel like, wow, these motherfuckers, these corporate greed, let's call it,
Right.
and it's rapacious and it's endless. They're taking away our places where we get some serenity, where we fucking connect to nature, like the lifeblood of it. You know what I mean? They want, to me, they want
Well, here's
everything.
what's fucked up about it. It is Americans' land, right? It is the public's land. And so if they're going to go to these areas and extract resources, why should they have those resources? Why are we allowing them to take the oil out of these spots? Why are we allowing them to take the minerals out of these spots? Like these are not there for your disposal. This is American land. This is the public's land. These corporations that want to come in and start drilling and mining in these areas, it's sanctioned stealing.
And then to like jump to an issue one step further, what the fuck? We're the only country who pulled out of the climate accord, right?
Right.
Now, are you with me that it isn't climate change, it's climate breakdown that's going on. And anybody, you've had scientists on, have you had environmentalists on talking about this shit? I mean, just here in LA this past summer, do you live in the Valley too?
Yeah.
I never experienced like there was 115 for 10 days, and not 110 for like 3 days in a row, and then I was starting to get
116 here one day.
I remember telling my wife, "Hey, honey, it's only 101." They were beating me down to like, "Sweetie, it's kind of nice. It's only 103 today."
Right.
You know what I mean? But my point is that they're taking land to do more oil drilling, to do fucking fracking, to do that kind of stuff. Where the fuck is why aren't we going completely toward solar, wind, phasing that shit out?
Especially in California. If you fly over California, you see very few clouds, and all the rooftops, like these rooftops should all be solar panels. If they were, we would have almost no need for external power.
It's sunny 24/7 here.
And if it's not today, within 5 years or 10 years, as the technology improves, there would be a way to extract all of our needs from solar power.
That's what I'm saying we should do instead of fucking opening up land.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, there's so much money in that oil, and we still rely on it so heavily right now. And they're not thinking about the future. They're thinking about right now. Right now, we can get that oil. We can make a ton of money.
Joe, here's the thing: they're not thinking about the future, dude. There may not be a future, and I know that's really like I don't want to be like, you know, but scientists, really well-known scientists, are saying, you know, these hurricanes are the beginning. You know, the massive ones we had that buried Houston.
Yeah.
You know, there were a couple that really fucked up. And they're going to be the norm. And also the constant heat out here in LA. I mean, you know what really freaked me out? 4 wildfires in December.
Yeah, the big one that's still going on right now that they haven't even put out in Ventura. Yeah, Jamie was saying yesterday it's not totally contained, right?
Yeah. Well,
it's still
almost at 90%, something like that.
Fucking crazy. It's been going on for weeks.
The Thomas fire.
Yeah. Gigantic fire. It's an enormous fire. Hundreds of thousands of acres. And terrifying.
By the way, the firefighters out here, I cannot believe what they do.
Animals. But you know, apparently they have a lot of prisoners that they make fight the fires for like $1 an hour. Yeah. It's like part of the gig.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. You got to fake your own death. You got to just run into that fire. Get free. But I think a lot of them like
you have like parking tickets.
It's fucked up. But it's fucked up.
Look, I just had a boot on my car.
Can get a fucking $1 an hour for work. Like, why is it okay to like?
That's slavery.
It is slavery. Like, if their work, like I always used to think that about license plates. Like that was always the big thing. Like in Massachusetts, there was always a joke that like every 2 years a new comedian would come up with the same joke because it was so obvious. Is that New Hampshire? The license plates say "Live free or die," and I'm like, those plates are made by prisoners. And that was what was crazy. It was like that was always the thing.
That's so perfect.
That was always the thing about license plates. They were made by prisoners, right? That was always the reference that we would talk. You're going to go sent upstate and you're going to make license plates. That was what people did. But when you make those license plates, you're making like 30 cents a day or whatever the fuck you're making.
Well, again, that gets back to corporate greed. Like I was reading about that stuff, like Verizon. I don't know. There's so many big corporations using prisoners.
Labor. Yeah.
To make stuff for their, and prisoners also get charged, like they get charged, I don't know where the fuck they come up with the money, but they get charged all this shit. Like if you want to make calls, if you have to buy your own fucking uniforms. It's like,
yeah, well, they're being punished. I get the idea behind it.
They're being punished. Isn't punishment? You have to be in a fucking confined space. You know,
I guess
now you have to work.
Well, the idea is that someone's profiting from it. That's where it gets super squirrely. It's like, wait a minute. Okay, I get the fact they're being punished, but who's making the money? Is the money going to the victims of these crimes? No.
No.
Okay, so it's one thing if you made a guy, like say if a guy robbed your house, right? And then he goes to jail, and then he makes 30 cents an hour. The state should pay him like what a normal working wage would be, like $25 an hour or whatever it is for this job that this guy's doing, and then You get all the rest.
Absolutely.
So this dickhead's working for you while he's in the pokey, and he's making 30 cents an hour because he broke into your house.
No,
makes
he's working
sense.
for Verizon.
Yeah, that's what's weird. He's working for some company that's willing to pay for those services at an exorbitantly discounted rate. Yeah. No, it's not. It's all not good, man. And here's the thing: you can't keep an eye on all of it. You can't keep an eye on what's happening
It's
in
exhausting.
Aleppo, and then the private prison structure, and then wait a minute, what happened with Bernie Sanders? His wife is involved in what? The college went under because of how? Is he legit? How many vacation homes does he have? And then you look at Hillary Clinton. Wait a minute, hold on. What's his Clinton Foundation? How much money? She didn't oppose. What? She was opposed to gay marriage until 2013. You'll be overwhelmed. You'll be overwhelmed with all the different people and all the different scandals and all the different possibilities. And you're in your car and you're on the 101 and you're freaking the fuck out, Eddie Pepitone. Jesus! That's what it is. We're overwhelmed.
And that's why you have to go into nature.
Yeah.
You know, you have to go into nature, kind of disconnect. Man, the Native American Indians knew how to do that.
Yeah, they knew how to do it. But that's
Right?
all they had. They didn't have like cell phones. It's not like they made a choice. You know, it was interesting.
Are you taking that shit away from them by saying that?
No. I had Sebastian Younger on the podcast. He's an author, brilliant guy. And one of the things that he was saying was that during the Revolutionary War, during the time of colonization, where the Europeans were moving across America, some of them were kidnapped by these Native American tribes. And then when they were rescued by the soldiers, they resisted. A lot of them wanted to stay with the Native Americans.
I think that's
and a lot of them moved in with the tribes. Like some people like voluntarily moved into tribes.
Dude, what does that tell you?
But this is what he said. No one did it the other way. The Native Americans did not join the Western civilization. They didn't like they only forcibly did they join the cities and move into these towns.
They wanted to be with Native Americans.
Well, they wanted to live the natural way, the way they've been living forever.
By the way,
their system is attuned to.
Yeah. Do you feel it? Because I originally started this off with talking about anxiety, and as we've been talking, I think one of the biggest causes of anxiety is disconnection from Mother Earth, disconnection from the heart of life, like disconnection. I don't know, man. But on top of that, then what's fueling that disconnection is this incredible technology where you're bombarded with information about everything and you're trying to make some fucking sense of it and your brain overloads, and then the bigger picture almost is that there are people in power, and there are people in power. I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but these people own everything. They fucking own just about everything.
Well,
and they're owning more.
We're talking about a bunch of different issues here then, if you're putting all these things together. But
I'm trying to put them together.
But I think that what you're saying that about people being disconnected and being overwhelmed by all that stuff to think about, that's real. Because you're supposed to be thinking about your immediate area and what the threats are and your immediate environment and where your friends are. Where's the community? And
where are communities? I mean, they talk about this communities breaking down.
Yeah.
Like we have a comedy community.
Don't you think that's a big thing? Like our community, like especially the Comedy Store. There's one of the cool things about the Comedy Store is we all go there and we see each other, and it's like very, very friendly and supportive.
I think it's huge.
Huge, so rare too.
I mean, I realize that is what we're talking about. Like you ever have a fucking thing where you're like flipping out about something and then you make one phone call or see one friend and the problem goes away?
Yeah. Especially if you and a friend are in some sort of a disagreement and you thought that they thought this thing and they thought that you thought that thing, and you get to talking, especially if you meet each other. And your friend's like, no, I thought this. And you're like, I thought you thought that. And like, and then everybody's happy. So you were stressed out, freaked out, and nervous and feeling weird about talking to that person. But then once you talk to them, everything smoothed away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if people, I think when you're doing that online thing and you're spending your day online or even texting, like I have all these friends, I have text friends, and that's, but I don't see them.
Those are weird. I have a few of those. A lot of East Coast buddies.
Yes.
I just text them every couple months. We text back and forth.
It isn't the same. It's like there's something missing.
No, but if they call, I won't answer. They call, I look at that, I got time for a conversation right now. Send me a text. I'll get back to you. But I'm in the middle of doing my ads here, and I've got to fucking write this bit, and I've got to fucking go somewhere, and I got to work out an hour, and
But but I think, you know, and we're all busy. I get that too, but it's like we have to find time for the community.
You gotta find time for being a human, an actual human. One part of being a human is interacting with other humans. We need each other. The worst thing they can do to you in prison is put you in solitary confinement. Think of that. The worst thing they can do. You're locked up in a cement cage filled with murderers and rapists and criminals, and the worst they can do is to leave you alone.
Yeah, isn't that
the big punishment is not like letting you go out and hang out with all the guys in the cafeteria. No, the big punishment is putting you in a room, taking away your clothes.
So just getting back to the technology, I think voyeurism is fucking killing people. We've become like this nation of voyeurs.
Yeah.
What I went to a little birthday party yesterday in a bar. This is not to brag, in Silver Lake.
Can't believe you're bragging about Silver Lake.
I don't like Silver Lake. Anyway,
you don't?
I don't think I do. I mean, I'm also the guy who makes immediate judgments on places without really knowing them. I think that's a comic thing to do. That's
for sure.
Absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Oranges suck.
Fuck improv. Yeah. So what's wrong with Silver Lake?
No, but I just want to talk about voyeurism and technology. So I was trying to do the thing we were talking about, fucking hanging with people.
Right.
Around us in this bar were 5 fucking television screens.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of guy, and again, it's my anxiety, like my tension in me. I wanted to go, can you please, and this is how I would say it too, which is why I never get anything done. I go, would you please turn off the fucking televisions? By the way, they didn't even have a fight on. They didn't even have a good game on because the games were over or something, and it was just showing random dumb shit like, I don't know, one was a reality show where people doing weird things. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's surrounded, and my vision was drawn to this shit constantly. And it was like, no, man, this is the problem. It was right there instead.
But if you own a bar and you want people to come in and spend a lot of money, you got to give them something to stare at. I mean, you could have
there's
a bar.
the problem.
You could have a cute community bar like one of them little pubs in England. You know, it's been around for 1,000 years.
They don't have the TVs, right?
I doubt it. I don't know. I've never been to one. But I would assume if they're 1,000 years old, they don't fucking stick giant flat screens everywhere.
Right, but what about if we give it a shot where if I owned a bar in Silver Lake, fucking someone said it would be funny if I just had one black and white and I'm just showing old Joe Louis fights on it, like really small.
That'd actually be cool. Yeah.
Joe Louis versus, who was the guy that he had these great fights with? Was it Max Schmeling?
Yeah. Yeah, Max Schmeling was unfairly thought of as a Nazi. He was really just a German. He was just a German guy who was a boxer who really didn't want to represent Hitler, apparently, from what I've read.
Yeah. Was he the big rival of Louis where they had these incredible...
Well, he stopped Louis in the first fight, and then Louis destroyed him in the second fight.
Yeah.
And the big thing about him beating Louis was that he beat Louis, and Louis was... Did he stop Louis?
I think he did.
I think he did. And
Louis hardly ever lost. I mean, did he lose 1 or 2 fights? Was that?
He lost quite a few when he got older in his career.
Yeah.
Lost to Rocky Marciano by a brutal knockout. And,
Ooh.
But he was quite a bit older. I think he was in his 40s at the time. But I think when he had the rematch, I think Max Schmeling might have KO'd him. And then when he had the rematch, he destroyed Max Schmeling. Here it is. Lost by KO. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Does it say what round? 12 out of 15.
1936.
Yeah. And then he came back.
Max Baer was another guy.
Yeah. He came back, and he was a giant hero when he knocked out Schmeling in the first round. Scroll up all the way. How many years later was that? 38, yeah. So
You
there-
remembered first round?
Yeah. Oh, he smashed him. Yeah. I mean, that was when Joe Louis was Joe Louis. I mean, that was when he had really come into his own, and then he went on this incredible tear. They used to call it the Bum of the Month Club because he was just knocking out anybody who was willing to get in there with him.
Yeah.
He fought some legit guys, and Billy Conn fought him a couple of times, who was actually a light
Billy
heavyweight.
Conn.
An
Yeah,
excellent
he
light
was-
heavyweight.
Buddy Bear, was that Max Bears? It says disqualified. Do you see that? 49 and
Yeah.
1.
I don't know what happened there.
I wonder if that's
Who knows?
a relation to Max Bear.
Probably. The 1930s must have been. Can you imagine going back to the 30s and the 40s? So look at this. He was the champ all the way up to Ezzard Charles in 1950. Think of that.
Wow. And he started in 36?
Yeah. So the first fight with Max Bear was 36. With Max Schmeling rather was 30. Hold on, right there. So he rematched him in 38. The first fight was in 36.
Took 2
And
years.
then he was all the way scroll all the way up to the top. By the time he lost to Jersey Joe Walcott, a unanimous decision in 1950. That's incredible. That's 14 years later.
Wow.
Fucking crazy.
No, his first loss was to Ezzard Charles.
Sorry. Yeah, he KO'd Jersey Joe Walcott.
By the way,
Lost
look
to
at that.
Ezzard Charles.
Yankee Stadium was the venue for like Chicago Stadium
Yeah.
Olympic. These were huge events.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
look, he won a bunch of fights after that. He lost the unanimous decision. Scroll all the way up. And then lost again to Rocky Marciano. So he really only lost 3 times, it looks like. 3 big ones.
Unbelievable.
3 big ones in the later stages of his career, unless he lost earlier. What's his overall record?
It was 66 and 3 according to that top.
Yeah, so 3 losses. So 1 Max Schmear, the brutal one to Rocky Marciano, which ended his career.
Did
and
you
then
see that
Ezzard
one?
Charles. Yeah.
The brutal one?
Yeah, you want to watch it?
I
rough.
I grew up watching boxing.
Did you?
Yeah, and it wasn't pay-per-view. It was
ABC?
I'm 59. Yeah, it was like network.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot of that back then.
And there was something. It wasn't pay-per-view, and they were free TV. And I really got into the sport. Like I would be like so psyched to see this shit.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I would watch. You remember a guy named Oscar
Bonavia. Yeah.
Bonavita?
Yeah.
He was like he was just like this kind of wild brawler, but he was a big guy, and he'd fight guys like I don't know if he changed his name yet. Cassius Clay. Oh, what's this?
This is This is Ezzard Charles, right? Is that Ezzard Charles?
Oh,
So that's the loss, but that's not the one we want to see. We want to see the Rocky Marciano one. This is the one where Ezzard Charles was the first guy to beat him, and he beat him by unanimous decision. But first of all, look how much smaller people were back then. Like Rocky Marciano, when he won the heavyweight title, was 15 pounds lighter than me.
Is that right?
Yeah, think of that. And I think he was only 5'10", and that might have been bullshit. You know, like people were a little sketchy about how tall they were back then.
Yeah.
They would try to find that Rocky Marciano one. This, yeah, I mean, I believe at the time, I think when he was the champ, he was 185 pounds. Maybe 190.
And
at the most.
Marciano was known Marciano was known for like just having unbelievable strength in his punches. Like he could just fucking.
Yeah, that's what he was. He was like this.
Is this
fucking,
it?
Yeah, this
Was he-
tank of an immigrant.
Brocktown Brawler? Like he was from Massachusetts?
Yeah, Brockton.
Is that
Brockton,
him?
Mass. Yeah.
He looks small.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 15 pounds lighter than me, man.
Lewis is a lot
Lewis isn't
bigger.
even that big. Lewis is probably 200 pounds back then. That was a heavyweight back then. It's just a different world. People didn't have that kind of food. They didn't have enough to eat.
They didn't
you know?
have the nutrition knowledge.
They didn't have steroids. They didn't have weightlifting. I mean, they had weightlifting, but boxers really didn't engage in that. It's very rare. They thought it stiffened you up. They didn't understand that the stiffening you up is just as you're, getting sore, and that you have to recover from that, and that's how you get bigger and stronger. Like boxers today, if you look at like Anthony Joshua, who's the heavyweight champion of the world now.
Is
you
he?
look at him, yeah. He's a English fellow. He's a tank. I mean,
Is he?
Oh, man. You look at Anthony Joshua, he looks like a superhero.
Do those guys have as much stamina as these guys do, though?
Oh, yeah, they do
Oh,
today.
they did?
Yeah, because the conditioning methods that they have today are just so superior. They understand rest and recovery, and they monitor
see.
your heart rate, and they're monitoring lactic acid buildup and creatine in your blood. And
So the science is really it's such a scientific.
if they engage in that, you know, some people still take it old school, but I just think they know more about what gets you in condition and high intensity, you know, conditioning drills, high reps.
Yeah.
But Rocky Marciano had something that you can't teach people.
Which is just
brutal
brute
power,
strength.
brutal power. He just had the ability to land these bone-crushing shots, and he also was insanely tough. You're dealing with just a different time. Like I was having this conversation with my wife this morning. We were talking about old school. Keep that going. Keep that going. See, the end is brutal. We were talking about old school cartoons and about like Pinocchio.
Yeah.
And they were so mean. They were so mean. And even old school cartoons about Santa and Christmas elves, the elves are all shitty to each other. Like, what the fuck? I thought you guys worked for Santa
Has it all
Claus.
been PC'd out? And
Totally PC'd out. But back then, in the 1940s and 50s, when these cartoons were originally made, the world was a hard place, man. It was hard.
Oh. Well,
It's
we're talking
hard.
World War II? Was World War
Yeah.
II just over, or?
Yeah. Well, here's something that I didn't realize until recently. My friend Steve Ranella was actually talking about this on a podcast. When we talk about factory farming and large-scale agriculture,
I
when it
hate
comes
that
to
stuff, by the way.
when we talk about that, the reason why that all got instituted, the reason why we have those programs set in place in America was because of famine. Because people were worried about what happened to the Europeans during World War II. During World War I and World War II, it's estimated that millions of people starved to death in the world. And in the United States, after the war, they wanted to do something to make sure that that didn't happen over here. And one of the things they did was they started instituting subsidies for farmers to make sure, look, you're not making enough money, but we're going to give you money just so that we have all this food on reserve. So that everyone thinks about it as, oh, this is this evil thing that the government has done to keep us fat and stupid. And no, it was originally put in place to prepare for the worst case scenario, where
Right.
we're at war again and we're short on food.
I get it. I get the genesis of it, but now,
Now it sucks. Yeah.
yeah, now
it's
it's
horrible.
fucking horrible.
Well, the worst
And
part
it's
is the
killing-
animals.
See, that's my
Yeah.
thing.
The
I'm just
worst
like,
part
you
by
ever watch
far.
a fucking? I mean, I have gone to veganism, and I grew up Italian, and we ate everything. I mean, I love sausage, and I mean, I just couldn't imagine.
course.
It's amazing that I have gone this way, and I did it because my wife got me into it. Big animal rights activist, and just watching some fucking slaughterhouse videos and seeing the fear. I mean, to me, animals are the most powerless because they don't have any choice in this shit. You know, human beings who have fucking horrible lives, there's at least some fucking element of choice and free will. Fucking animals are just, it's just like,
Especially factory farmed animals, right?
oh,
Yeah.
dude.
I mean, they're just trapped. So are
Dude,
you're a
it's-
vegan now?
Yeah, I have been for, I would say it took a while to like not like slip. I would say pretty solidly for 3 years, 4 years.
And do you get your health monitor? Do you get your blood levels checked?
I
to make
do.
Sure you
I
feeling
do.
okay?
My sugars are a little high because what happens for me, and this could just be fucking willpower. I don't know, but he just knocked down.
Hit him with a left hook. Dropped him.
Ooh.
And this is, an older Joe Louis. How old was Joe Louis at the time of this, young Jamie? Does it say?
And Marciano. How old was Marciano?
He was in his prime. I think Marciano was 30 or something
Boy,
like that.
he is a lot smaller than him.
Does it say? No. He was older. Yeah, in 1951, he got knocked out by Marciano. That's crazy.
God, I love Braddock. I love that Cinderella story. You see that movie
Yeah.
with Russell Crowe? It was like fucking great.
Yeah.
But the
So anyway, you eat too much carbs? Is that what it is?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Carbs are terrible for you, man. That'll do you in more than anything. What about eggs?
Fuck.
Do you eat?
Well,
like,
that's
you can eat
not
eggs.
vegan.
Yeah, but why go vegan when eggs don't harm anything? If you get I have chickens. If free
You
range
have
eggs,
chickens?
yeah, man. They just run around. You feed them. They have a good old time. Then you eat their eggs. Like nobody gets hurt. The eggs are not viable because there's no rooster, right? So you're not taking away a life. This is just something that the chickens almost like
Aren't
you have
those
a relationship.
embryos?
No, they're just eggs. No, they're only an embryo if it's pregnant. So it has to get fucked by a rooster. If there's no rooster, they just lay eggs.
Oh.
Isn't that funny that most people didn't know that? I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I got chickens. I kind of intellectualized it, but then I was, oh yeah, there's no rooster. How could they? Well, of course. It's not like the chickens can just lay eggs and those eggs can become new chickens. No, that only happens if a rooster gets in the hen house. So
I guess the answer to that, I guess the answer to that would be the way they house the fucking chickens to make.
Well, you don't
the
have
eggs.
to get them that way. You can get free range. I mean, there's places that you can get legitimate free range. You can actually even visit the farms. You know, there's a guy that we had on the podcast. What is that gentleman's name? That runs Polyface Farms, Joel Salatin. Yeah, Joel Salatin.
Oh, I've heard of that name.
Brilliant
Like
guy.
he's a real humane.
Yes. And
I've heard of him. I think it was in a movie called Forks Over Knives, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. That movie is very deceptive. That movie's filled with a lot of bullshit.
Forks Over Knives?
Yes.
What's
That's
the
vegan propaganda movie. And they're the same guys that did the most recent one, which is What the Health? Yeah. It's widely torn apart by actual scientists who understand human nutrition.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Real problems. Like meat does not cause diabetes. There's zero evidence that it does. Well, diabetes is caused by sugar and by complex carbohydrates, or excuse me, by refined carbohydrates. This not
processed.
All diabetes, right? Obviously, there's genetic diabetes.
Right. What about the connection between meat and heart disease?
Here's a connection. When you say people who eat meat are more likely to have heart attacks, right? You're not saying what they eat the meat with. Are they eating a piece of grass-fed steak, or are they eating a shitty cheeseburger that's on a bun that's filled with sugar, with fries, and did they have a syrupy soda with it? It's. I've had scientists talk about this. I've had Dr. Rhonda Patrick was on this recently, and what she said is there is a direct correlation between consumption of saturated fats along with refined sugar. When you have refined sugar and saturated fats, it produces a lot of bad cholesterol. And this is one of the things that's been proven clinically to lead to heart attacks, clinically to lead to, strokes and hardening of the arteries. And it's the big thing is sugar. The big thing is sugar and carbohydrates. Those are the big things.
And carbs turn into sugar.
Yes.
Like, do you eat no carbs?
I eat very
or
little
brown
carbs. I eat very little carbs.
Very little.
Very little. Yeah.
You don't crave them, huh?
No, once you get out of it. See, a lot of it is your gut health. A lot of it is what's going on inside your stomach. Yeah. Like what your stomach is used to eating. If you feed your stomach sugar and processed refined carbohydrates all the time, that's what you've got in your gut. I mean, that's the kind of gut flora you're cultivating. Yeah. And that's what leads to leaky gut, leads to inflammation. I mean, I want to pick on you, but you're a little overweight.
No.
Right? And this is a lot of it.
I know I have a problem with carbs. You know? And my trip has been that I'm about the animal rights. You know what I mean? Like I fucking hate the way they are.
But that's fine, Eddie, and it's good. But you can do better for yourself. I mean, you can live an ethical, humane life with no animal products other than like free range eggs and be okay. And just cut all the dairy out, cut all the things.
I have cut all the dairy out.
But that's what I'm saying to anybody even listening to this. You can have eggs, and you can get plenty of it from there's a lot of plant-based protein that's like very rich and powerful for you and excellent for you. Hemp-based protein is really good. Spirulina is fantastic for you. There's a lot of really good like sources of nutrients, but you got to really pay attention to what you're putting in your body. If you just eat vegan pizza and vegan cookies all the time, you're going to get jacked.
No, I know.
It's going to fuck you up.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. And I do find myself craving maybe that's because I put it in. The fucking.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be
before
there.
I came here, I had a fucking, blueberry bagel.
Whoa, it's great, right? All those carbs. You feel good when they're going in.
I had a panic attack though. I had a panic attack coming over here, and I really do. You what?
I don't think that's what gave you the panic attack.
No, not specifically, but I think if you're feeling kind of shitty in general, you're more susceptible to it.
I think you're right for sure. Yeah, if you could just cut out the carbs. It's harder on a vegan diet, but it's possible. It is, right? But you got to get a good book on it. You got to find out, like, there's really good vegan health books that can show you how to eat in the right way.
Do you go that way at all, or you reject it?
Well, it's not that I reject it. For me, I eat wild game almost exclusively. Right. I eat wild animals that I hunt. Yeah, so I hunt the wild animals, and if I shoot an elk, I get hundreds of pounds of meat, and I eat that all year. I have commercial freezers in the back. I'll show you after the show. I keep meat here. I have meat at home. I give meat to my friends. And so my meat that I get is a wild animal that was going to get eaten by a wolf. Like if I didn't get it, I mean, this isn't a factory farmed prisoner that gets led to slaughter. This year, I got an elk in Utah. I shot in Utah, and I also shot one in California in a place called Tejon Ranch. It's this 270,000 acre ranch in the middle of the country, or middle of the state rather.
Right.
But getting it that way, to me, it feels. Before I started hunting, I decided I was either going to be a vegan or I was going to be a hunter. I'm like, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. I didn't want to eat. You didn't want to farmed food.
Take part in that.
Yeah, I just watched too many.
When you kill the elk, right? When you shoot it, do you have like what's the feeling there? That must be intense.
It's very intense. There's definitely a moment of loss where you feel like, this animal is gone now, but there's also a moment of reverence but you got to do it sustainably. Like when I do it, I'm doing it in places that have extremely healthy populations. You get an animal that's past its breeding prime, right? You get an animal that's 7, 8, 9 years old where they really don't have much time left. That's what you target. Like people think when you target a trophy animal, like a big animal.
You're very specific about what you're doing.
Very specific, and I'm also specific about making it difficult, which is why I do it with a bow and arrow. I don't, I mean, I've hunted animals with rifles, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But for me, I feel like if I really want to make this a more even arrangement and make it more difficult and make it more ethical, I use a bow and arrow. Yeah.
But there is that moment, like, you've killed it, and then you feel a sense of loss.
There is a sense of loss.
It's deep.
Yeah, it's deep. But you know what? We've run across a bunch of elk. There's one of the things that once you get into the natural world and you really start understanding what's going on out there, you realize like this. No one gets out of this ride alive. Like this ride, like the elk that I killed, he had holes all over his body, when we were taking him apart, holes everywhere from other elk stabbing him. So that's what you look up there. All that shit. Those elk antlers.
Are those real?
That's real. That's the one that I shot in September.
Oh, okay.
Those things are designed to kill other elk. They slash each other. They clash and smash those horns together, and it's all to fight over breeding. And the most powerful ones with the biggest antlers are the ones that get to breed. And one of the best ways to ensure the health of this group of animals is once this animal has reached its breeding prime, that's the one you take out. You take out the herd bull. It allows the younger bulls to have an opportunity to breed.
You actually
more
know
genetics.
Who is the...
You see the big dog, yeah. You see the herd. They call him the herd bull.
How'd you learn that?
I got obsessed about 5.5 years ago. I got crazy with it. Yeah,
you
almost
started
6 years ago.
researching food and...
Yeah. Well, I got obsessed before I actually went hunting, but I went hunting in 2012 was the first time I went. And then once I did that, I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. I'm like, this makes sense. And it's difficult. So it's a pursuit. So my food now isn't just food that I got. Now there's this intense connection with that food.
Nobody's got a fucking connection with their food.
Most people don't. But the weird thing is, everyone did until about 100 years ago. That's what's really crazy. This is so new. This is so new.
Yeah.
You go to 1917, everybody had probably seen an animal get killed on a farm.
On farms.
Yeah, I mean, everybody you were around it. It was a normal thing. You go to 1817, you couldn't avoid it.
Yeah.
You go to a marketplace, you go to a farmer, everybody knew, and then also there was no pesticides. The genetic manipulation of the food was non-existent. It was everything was as it is in a natural state or in a cultivated state where you're splicing things and doing like normal things that people do to improve fruits and vegetables.
Again, my favorite topic. Haven't we gone like just the wrong way?
Well, we've definitely gone away. But that way that we've gone in the negative ways is terrible. But in the positive ways are things like golden rice that's like allowed thousands, if not millions of people to not starve to death because it's rice that was infused with protein. There's a bunch of different things that we've done to ensure the shelf life of food, so get the food to hungry people, because these foods can last longer. Like tomatoes, they look kind of fucked up now because they're hard and but these also can stay on the shelves for a lot longer. Like, and this goes back to what we're talking about, like post-World War II. People were terrified of scarcity. They were terrified of famine, and they were terrified of the idea of going back to war again and not having a stockpile of food and resources. So this is it's all bad now.
Yeah.
It's all bad when you go down the food aisle and most of this shit has sugar in it and simple refined carbohydrates, and it's killing people and giving people
Where do you
cancer.
do you shop just organic markets or
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
I try to get organic. I try to go to farmers markets too.
Yeah.
I
They're
like farmers.
cool.
I like the feeling I go to a farmer's market. I meet the
Yeah.
guy who's growing the tomatoes.
Yeah, you
Feels good.
walk into fucking supermarkets and the bright lights, all the fucking it feels like you've walked into that corporate death, you know? And they call sugar white death, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're not supposed
I
to.
have a sweet tooth too.
course you do.
I have a lot of things to work on. It's so fun. You know, I get overwhelmed by that shit. I get like, God damn it, you know. And check this out. I've been working out with the trainer for the last year and a half, 3 times a week with the I
That's
like
awesome.
this guy a lot. Yeah, but you know, I'm such an idiot that I work out with him and I'm like, well, I'm okay. I'm good now. I can have this shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's insane what I do. Like my little reward.
Yeah.
I'm like that child. I'm a child who is like,
That's one of the reasons why you're so funny.
but I gotta fucking change that other part of me. And you know, it's so funny because we're having this conversation, and what happens to me is I'll be driving home going, well, that's fucking it. This is my state of mind. I'll go, that's fucking it. You know, this
Getting
is
it together.
Yeah, a fucking Rogan, you know, he just hammered home what I already know about, you know, it's got it, the sugar's got to go, the processed carbs got to go.
Then you see a cupcake. It's got
But,
thick
and then
frosting.
the
It looks
fucking
great.
rationalizations and justifications of, well, it's fucking New Year.
Yeah. It's almost Christmas. It's almost Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is another 360 days. It's like, yeah. It's normal.
Then
man.
I'm on a shoot in January, and I'm like, they don't have any good food here. I gotta have something. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's on
Fuck,
and
I'll
on.
have a cookie. Yeah.
It's a bitch.
You got to write it down. Write down what you want to do. Write down what you're allowed to eat.
Someone
then only
else,
eat that.
a couple other people told me the write down thing helps.
Yeah. Writing down things helps with everything. I write
Why
down
is that?
because you have an obligation. It's like one of the things that Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, and Ari Shaffir and I did Sober October.
Oh, yeah.
You went through all
I
of
heard you
October.
talking about that.
No booze, no pot.
How'd you like that?
It was educational. I think it's important to do. I think it's good to do. I like pot. I'm a big fan. And I like an occasional drink. I like a glass of wine with dinner. I like that. But it's also good to abstain. Just
You don't
to
have an
feel what
addictive
it feels like.
personality, huh?
I do, but I don't. I do, but I don't let it.
You will it.
Yeah, I keep that bitch in check. But I could let it go crazy if I wanted to.
I
yeah.
quit pot because I felt interesting. Like I just would love to smoke all the time.
Yeah,
And
sounds
I'd be
good.
like, well, this movie is going to be great on a fucking joint.
Yeah.
It's I, Tonya.
Yeah.
I, Tonya, it's gonna be
Yeah.
be intense. Like to me, what pot did, it was like, this is gonna make this, like I'm going to CVS and if I smoke, it's gonna be a fun fucking trip because
Yeah.
there's weirdos at CVS.
Especially in Silver Lake.
But you know what I mean? But what happened was that I felt like I wasn't doing my creative work.
Right.
Like what happened was the weed was taking me totally, again, I'm a child, like taking me totally into this. I just want to pleasure myself the whole day and I
Right.
couldn't buckle down and do work.
Well, that's a real problem with comics. That a lot of us struggle with having the kind of discipline that's required to get work done. You know, and it's like you're really funny, but you don't produce any new stuff because you're impulsive, because you're kind of, you know,
What's the
it's kinda
answer, man?
silly. I think writing things down helps a lot. Having rules. I was going to say about this Sober
Structure.
October thing. I knew that I couldn't do any of this thing, and I knew that I had to do 15 90-minute yoga sessions in this month. We had a rule, and we're also accountable to each other. So we all knew that we had to get this done.
Community again.
Yeah, community, and you know, and talking shit to each other on text messages all the time. You know, like we were constantly fucking with each other and having a good time. I mean, it was really fun. It was really fun, but it was also very educational. But knowing that I have these requirements, so I give myself requirements. I write down things
Every day, every month,
every week.
every week. Okay.
Or occasionally it's
weekly.
daily if there's like a big list of shit I have to do. But like I have to write 5 days a week. I have to write for 1 hour 5 days a week. You have to. That's where the stuff comes from. And if I write more hours, great. That's great. But at least 5
Right.
hours a week. And
Right.
if I miss a day, if something happens, the next day I require 2 hours.
Okay, so
There's
you
just no way
stick
around it.
to a plan.
You have to.
And
Otherwise,
you do that with food, and you
Yes.
do it with.
Yes.
See, that's what's missing.
I do also for food. I do intermittent fasting. This is my rule, where I only eat for 10 hours a day. So for 14 hours a day, I don't eat at all. So whatever that cutoff is. So say if I eat my last meal, my last bite of
8
food is
o'clock
at
at
8
night?
p.m. I don't eat until 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. Period. So if I get up at 7, that means for 3 hours I'm not eating shit. I'll work out. I'll allow
Without
myself
food
a cup
in
of
you?
coffee. Yeah, I do a lot of workouts with no food in me.
That's cool to do. I
Yeah.
always think, oh, I'm going to get blood sugar and pass out. No,
You'll
that's
be
bullshit,
fine.
huh?
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's just harder.
Yeah.
You don't feel good while you're doing it.
Yeah.
But if you get used to doing it, you can get
Do you have
used to it.
coffee?
Yeah, I'll have
Yeah.
a cup of coffee. That
Yeah,
helps. That helps
Yeah.
suppress your appetite and
Yeah.
gives you a little pick me up.
Yeah.
And it's a psychological boost. You know, like I have a nice cup of coffee and then I'll go hit the gym.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel better if I have something to eat first. You know.
It's amazing how I resist structure.
Of course, you're funny, man. This is a reoccurring theme with so many of my funny friends.
It is.
Yeah, crazy, impulsive, funny. But you're also the guy where if there's a group of people sitting around and they're all a bunch of fucking suits and they're all boring people, I'm going to gravitate immediately to you because you and I are going to talk real. We're going to be
Right.
silly and you're going
Right.
to say some fucked up shit that I'm going to laugh at and we're going to be slapping each other in the back and how that's what you do, man. But you have to, you got to manage.
You know what it fucking is partly with me? I swear to God, I'm so anti-corporate. I'm so kind of I'm anti-government. I don't know what this anti-authoritarian streak. It
Right.
might have been from my dad, who was the Sicilian motherfucker, right? Any kind of
course.
constriction.
Right, but stop and think about this. You're talking in a microphone that was made by a corporation. You got here, I texted you on your phone, which was made by slave labor in China. You got here in your car, which was probably constructed overseas, right?
Yeah, Honda.
Yeah, see, we need corporations because you and I are not going to build fucking planes, okay? Boeing is required to make sure those planes get done correctly. I
just
don't-
want them to do it in a way that's egalitarian
Right,
and
sure.
not fucking over people,
Yes. But it's just like, it's really convenient to put that Che Guevara t-shirt on and fuck
I am that guy.
fuck society, man. I mean, it's so tempting. And your inclinations are all correct. Your heart is in the right place. Your instincts are all good. It's like you don't want people to get fucked over, and you rightly realize that a lot of this materialism and this fucking corporate bullshit is pointless if, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, we're all going to die, and we need to face that and stop just collecting shit and instead work on having a great experience in the moment, because this moment that you have right now, this is all you ever have, is the moment. You can plan to make that moment better in the future with more discipline and more structure and more happiness and even more like scheduling community events and scheduling things.
You think military guy? It's hilarious that I don't know any military guys.
I know a lot. Yeah, I know a lot.
Is the discipline good for them?
Gigantic. It's huge. My friend Jocko Willink wrote a book called Discipline Equals Freedom.
See, that's what I need to fucking go toward.
You need to follow Jocko. Every morning at 4:30 in the morning, he posts a picture of his watch as he gets up to work out.
What's his name?
Jocko Willink. I'll send you his Instagram after this. But he's like a bona fide savage, Navy SEAL, and the guy's a goddamn animal. And every morning at 4:30, he works out, and then he goes and watches the sun come up on the beach, and that is his reward. That's his reward. So he gives himself that, and then he gets all this stuff done that he has to do during the day. See the aftermath, like he'll post pictures of like his go to his actual page. You see all the photos of his watch. 4:32 a.m. There he's up, and you know,
Is his heart in the right place too?
Oh, he's a good guy, great guy, and he spends a lot of his time right now doing these corporate seminars and you know, like explaining to people like the importance of leadership and discipline, and that, you know, this is how you get things done. This is how you feel better. This is how you relieve yourself of your demons and your tension. And his concept of discipline equals freedom really resonates, because if you have the discipline to get things done, then you feel like, I don't feel good unless I've accomplished the shit I need to do. But when I have accomplished the shit I need to do, then I like to kick back on the couch and
You've earned it.
Yeah, watch a boxing match or some television show that I enjoy. I can enjoy it where I don't have anxiety. I have fucking anxiety if I don't get things done.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, it's funny because, you know, I started the podcast talking about anxiety, and I'm thinking it's all about community and disconnection. And for me, it may be this just amorphous kind of days I have, instead of fucking, you know, going, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this. To give me a little structure, that would probably alleviate a bunch of anxiety.
It would alleviate a bunch of it, but community is important too, man.
No, I know.
We fucking need each other. You know, it's one of the, like we were talking about the Comedy Store, and I wish everybody had something like the Comedy Store. You know, I used to have a pool hall that I used to go to that was like that, where I would be, everywhere I would be, I'd be like, I can't wait to get back to executive billiards and hang out with all my friends. And it was like this freak show where it was all these weirdos and gambler, White Plains, New York.
Oh, okay.
And all these weirdos and gamblers and strange little outcasts of society and lifelong bachelors who were in their 70s. And we'd all get together and laugh and hang out till fucking 4 o'clock in the morning and then go get something to eat. And, you know, I was a comic, but this was like a home base to me. And I think the Comedy Store, in a lot of ways,
comics
is like
used to hang out in delis. And hang out in delis.
Yeah,
hey, I have to go to the bathroom.
Hey, let's wrap this bitch up. It's 2 o'clock already.
Okay.
How quick was that? Just went by.
That was great.
Eddie, I had a good time, man.
I had a great time. I had a great time, and I think I'm going to change my life.
Change your fucking life, Eddie Pepitone. God damn it. Follow Eddie on Twitter, and you're on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Eddie Pepitone on both of those.
Eddie Pep on Instagram.
Eddie Pep. All
Eddie
right.
Pepitone on Twitter.
Eddie Pep, ladies and gentlemen. Ba-boom.
Ooh, where's your bathroom?